Welcome to the Bullpen. This is our monthly look at markets as we check in with Tommy Grisafi from Advanced Trading, ATI Pro Media. Tommy, we've reached the end of the month. Always an important time to look back to where we've been and what's ahead as well. First of all, thanks for joining us once again, Tommy.
Hey, Dan, good to be here. Can't believe May's already over. Temperatures up by you are a little cooler, very wet. Oftentimes, farmers are praying for rain. I don't think there's a farmer in the United States who's not praying for it to stop. Even my folks in a dry part of Kansas received an inch of rain over the last 24 hours. Moisture is abundant.
Yeah, no doubt. I was at the North Dakota Stockman's with their headquarters grand opening in Bismarck, and the ranchers are happy. They've got green grass. It's been a beautiful spring for calving, but yeah, I driving back from Bismarck this morning, I did not see anybody in the field. They need some drier weather, and we just can't get it. We go 3 days and get another shower, so it's hard to get that stretch where we need to get things done.
Yeah, first few weeks of June will be big for soybeans to finish up, and there just may not. We may have less corn acres now in America. If we were going to have, 90 million, maybe we have 89. I don't know. But the markets going into the end of the month, not a good close for corn. Nasty close for corn. If you are a corn bull, you had a bad couple days as we end May, Don.
What was the main reason behind that, Tommy?
I really don't have a catalyst. Last night on the news of the Trump conviction, I felt like the soybean market might rally because I feel like there's an incredible amount of attention that if Trump was to win the presidency, he's going to immediately put tariffs on China. But by the end of the day, or maybe the markets were up because we knew we had too much rain in places that couldn't handle more rain. Maybe it's not political. But by the end of the day, it didn't matter. Corn, wheat, and beans all closing a lot lower compared to where they were last night and this morning. So I don't have a great reason except for on Thursdays, every Thursday, the drought monitor map comes out, and you point to me in America where they grow grain and there's a significant amount of drought. I had the chance to jump on the air yesterday with Sean Haney up there in Real Agriculture up in Canada, and he said there's rain everywhere. Hopefully it rains on those forest fires, but I didn't ask him about that. But they're getting crops in a little slower up there, but they're getting it in the moisture. I guess it's a good thing. I mean, we have plenty of old crop. We're not running out of grain. This whole rally, Don, has been a Russia-led rally. Russia is having a significant production problem with wheat. South America's had its own hiccups, but in the end, there's still plenty of corn, wheat, and beans in the world, Don.
It is interesting because obviously we've got the majority of the crop in, but it's that last 20-30% for these growers trying to get things accomplished. You wonder if that's going to go PP or if that's going to go soybeans. I guess the weather's still going to be the determining factor there.
Yeah. You and I did a little crop tour around North Dakota a few years ago, and I think we zipped around on the 5th of June. And then you once flew here to O'Hare, and we went driving around. If I remember right, you landed on my birthday. I think it was my birthday, right around the middle of June, end of June. Maybe more the middle of June. Maybe we were traveling around my birthday, but it was late. And you know what? Yeah. They got it all in. They got a lot of it in. I mean, there was obviously some PP, but they got a lot in. Remember you got off the plane and we just went driving through northern Illinois and we stopped somewhere and we're like, oh my God, it's June 15th. Well, we're planting today. They went and slammed it in. One thing about prevent plant corn, and this is just my opinion. I don't know if it's true, but I'm going to say it's true. With how much the markets went down the last few days, I don't know how hard I'd be trying to slam corn in. I much rather try to get those beans in. But I'm not an agronomist. You travel all over. You have the circuits you do when you go on those agronomy crop tours and stuff. But slamming $4.50 corn in the ground late doesn't sound like a good idea to me. What do you think?
I think once this calendar turns into June, it's harder to put corn in the ground. But it's hard to, I think, pull the pin and do PP. You live with that for more than one season. I think that's a hard pill to swallow for most producers. So unless fertilizer was put down, I think we're going to see a lot of those acres shift over to soybeans, in my view. But it again, a lot depends on what happens here over the next few days as far as getting some crop in the ground, and if we can get a sustained period of good weather. You talk about markets. I look at Wall Street. We had the Dow hit record 40,000 points, and it's come off a long way since then. What are we seeing on that economic front?
Just volatility, geopolitical risk. We've had a rise in inflation inflation staying at elevated levels, and that's really going to be affecting people. This whole we're going to have 4 or 5 rate cuts this year, we may go throughout the whole year and have none. Right now, they have a 40% chance of a rate cut in September. We have an election in November. So we're going to have elevated interest rates here for a while. We're seeing elevated inflation. Doesn't mean inflation's running wild and out of control. It just means it's not going down. And matter of fact, the way the markets looked a few weeks ago, with commodities rising, gold rising, oil rising, everything else. Now they've since calmed down, gold and silver and copper and all these things. But boy, a few weeks ago, things were hot. We were inflated. We're calming down a little off those levels.
The Fed is going to be meeting in a couple of weeks. You mentioned the Trump verdict, 34 counts of felony counts against former President Trump. Does that bring any anxiety into the marketplace when you see some of that turmoil, the chaos that we are looking at in the U.S. political spectrum?
I would imagine it does, but not so much today. It's a headline. You know, what I always tell people is if you drove into your town and you didn't know what happened yesterday, has anything changed? Yeah. Are you not going to have a Coca-Cola? Are you not going to go to Jimmy John's and eat? Are you not going to shave? Well, you don't shave as much as I do. But my point is, if you look at stuff that Warren Buffett likes, Dairy Queen, Gillette razors, Coca-Cola, nothing changed. I mean, you're going to go about your life regardless who's president. So if you and your wife want to go on vacation, you're not going to say, you know what, our guy didn't win, we're not going on vacation. For as important as the president is, in this world of social media, it's probably a lot more important to make us think our vote matters versus our vote really mattering. The ultimate vote that matters, Don, is your wallet. You still get to vote 10 times a day with your wallet. Go spend your money where you want. That's how I look at the election. And of course, you know, the government does spend a lot of money and they have a lot of employees. So I think America's in an okay place. There's always things, no matter what, you're going to have 49% of the people upset. Wouldn't you agree?
We're a very divided country, and probably even more so today after that verdict that came through. I don't think that verdict changes too many minds, but it will be interesting to see what happens as we move through sentencing and the GOP convention and all the stuff that's going to be ahead. The chaos is just beginning, probably.
Yeah, one way I explain it, last night I went live. We just wanted to see who would join last night on our live stream. We had 485 people join last night, but we just wanted to talk about the Trump conviction in markets, not Trump conviction and what it means politically. But the way I described it, and tell me if you agree on this, is that 45% for the right, 45% for the left, and 5% of each of those parties are in the middle. And they're not sure which way they're going to go. This election's about swaying that 5% of either way. The 45 hard right, 45 hard left, they're not going to change their mind. There's not a single person who was saying, I was going to vote for Trump, but he's a felon and I don't vote for felons. We've never had a felon as a president. How do you know you're not going to vote for one, right? So there's a lot of new things happening.
And it really comes down to just a handful of states where, the electoral college is going to make a difference. A state like North Dakota, it's not going to make a lot of difference just because the politics are going to swing one way altogether. I mean, it's states like Ohio and Florida and Arizona, some of the states that we've seen in the most recent elections that have had the biggest impact.
Yeah, and as far as someone who trades corn for a living, I mean, I'll talk politics with someone over a beer or dinner or whatever, and maybe they have a different view. I love when two men or women or a group of people can have an intelligent conversation of wants and needs. But boy, if you go on social media, as my one friend likes to say, never argue with people who buy ink by the barrel.
Yeah, very true. Obviously, the Trump news took over the network news and the cable channels once that happened. But I traveling yesterday, got into the hotel, turned on the tube, and the headline that came up was a story about the dairy worker in Michigan, now the third person to be contracted with H5N1, the human version of avian influenza. A lot of, I think, the network news gets a little scary when they start talking about those kind of things. Basically, it's the flu. This person took some flu medication, went home, and drank his OJ, and everything should be fine. But those kind of stories, they do resonate in the marketplace, I would think, just because those kind of headlines get people nervous.
We're very much worried about beef exports. We're worried about someone calling in from a foreign country and saying, American beef, we're out. American this, we're out. But internally in America, I was just at the store just a little bit ago, and there's plenty of food on the shelves. It all seems safe. I'm not worried about it. If you're the least bit worried about it, don't go eating raw pork or beef or chicken. I mean, if you cook something, it'll be fine. Farmers I talk to say it's equivalent to pink eye. Imagine getting pink eye. It's a little aggravating, maybe, but it's not a problem in the sense that anyone should be worried about the food supply. On a slow news day, they do seem to play that pop up a little more often. Agreed?
Yeah, exactly. And 3 cases out of how many dairy workers across the entire country. Think about it. The first two basically was pink eye. This now was more some respiratory issues, but people have flu symptoms every day. It really shouldn't be a headline, but certainly it's unusual. And we're coming off of a pandemic not so very long ago, so I think people get a little more hyped up about some of these issues today.
I want to see. There's a friend of mine who always posts every month at the end of the month on Twitter where things closed. He usually does it for the week, but let me see real quick. And normally I have that prepared for you. But I'm interested in seeing where, if I could find where things close for the month. I don't see them right up on the first few times, but normally I'm like, okay, feeder cattles were down this much, corn was this.
Yeah.
Just the way I looked at the markets at the end of the day, I was like, whoa, that's not very good. We've done better before. That was a rough post or rough close here into the end of the month.
So what are things we should be looking for as we go into June here, Tommy?
Do we get that? Great question. Do we get that last bit of the crop planted? Does inflation calm down or does it keep going? How maxed out is the consumer? So if you want to see a reason not to buy beef, it's probably not bird flu. It's a tapped out consumer. June will be the end of the second quarter, and then after that, it's all eyes on the election and weather, of course. Mother Nature's large in charge, Don. Yeah, every year at the beginning of the year, USDA gets together, says what the crop's going to be. Analysts say what it's going to be. A bunch of us yo-hos say we're going to go here, we're going to go there. It never does what any of us are saying. And if it did, you and I wouldn't be recording this on a Friday afternoon. I'd be picking you up on my jet and going to your island, correct?
Yeah, very true. Well, Tommy, as always, we appreciate the chance to connect, talk markets, talk about what's happening in the world of agriculture. Thanks for joining us once again.
Thanks, Don.
Tommy Grisafi with us from Advanced Trading ATI Pro Media. We're talking markets. I'm Don Wick. That's the bullpen.